Papa and Silver every day, 10 to 2. Of course, Greg Papa is going to be very busy next Thursday, April 24th. And a guy who's been really busy leading up to this entire stretch. You can catch him every single night on these airwaves at 6 p.m. for Niners Nightly, or at this point in the year, sometimes it's Giants Nightly when they got these games that go long. Either way, he knows it all. He does it all. And yes, we are talking about Larry Krueger. Krug, it's been a minute. What's happening, man?
Greg's. What's going on? You guys looking sharp. Man, I like that sweater, Pop. Man.
Today's picture day. Back-to-back in studio. We got photo day. So
yeah, you look good.
You look good as well. And we'll have you on next week leading up to it. But right about now, and you've done this for a living, I think you've evaluated all the players. You have an idea. You put a grade on everybody. They'll probably come in this weekend and really, finalize the board if it's not already done. Now the poker game starts to get played, and we'll just concentrate on pick 11. So you have an idea, where the top 10 are going to be, the Derek Carr injury, the 3 quarterbacks go before the Niners pick, and all of that. So you've been analyzing and watching all the players. You know how to play poker. So ideally, do the Niners stick and pick at number 11? And who would be your desired player there? Or would you get into a game where you maybe a trade back? If Pittsburgh wants to come up to go get a quarterback at 11, is 21 too far to go back? So your ideal scenario, you've evaluated the players. Who do you want? How do you want to play poker now?
Well, there's always a lot of different ways to play your hand. But to me, I made my 49er draft to-do list. And this is not in any particular order. But this is what I got, Greg. And Greg. Rebuild the D-line with dynamic players, both inside guys and outside guys. Why? 3/4 of your line are gone from last year. Rebuild the offensive line, I think, from the inside out. Why? Because you can't run the ball on the goal line in short yardage. You get no push. McCaffrey's getting destroyed. 3, get dynamic offensive skill position guys, because you just lost Debo and Ayuk probably for the first half of the year, and Kittle's 30. 4, draft your new set of linebackers all on day 3. It's a phenomenal day 3 linebacker draft. Get them. Get a corner or 2. And if possible, draft a sleeper quarterback along the way. That would be my list. As far as 11, there was a great quote today on Twitter, on X, from Eric DeCosta, who's one of the guys I really respect the most. He's the Baltimore Ravens. He's the new Ozzie Newsome, basically, the Baltimore Ravens. And he put out a tweet saying that he believes, or his team, the Ravens, have 217 draftable players. He said there are some years you have 165 draftable players. So he's basically touting the importance of middle round picks in this draft. And I totally agree. And for that reason, I would trade back from 11. Because I think that's where you're going to build this football team, is in the middle rounds. And I think the guy that you get at 11 in 99% of the time in this situation this year is going to be as good as the guy you get in the teens or even in the early 20s. So I think the plan clearly is trade back. And if you can, and I would say trade back, if you can trade back 2 spots, 3 spots, 5 spots, great. If you can trade back multiple times and get into the mid-20s, I think that's great. With the target being a great player that fell between the cracks. And to me, the 2 players that really jump out as like, wow, look at these guys and look where they're slated to go, are Malachi Starks of the Georgia Bulldogs, who I think would be an outstanding free safety next to Malik Mustafa. I think that could be your safety combo for years to come. Starks is one of the great players in college football, and he just didn't test perfect. And so he's, going to probably go in the 20s. Don't let the Ravens grab this guy. Go get this guy in the early 20s. The other guy that, you guys have talked to me about this guy before, but the more I've looked at all the prospects, you got to remember there's a failure rate, right? There's a lot of busts, and you got to decide why guys are not going to make it. And then if you look really closely at some of these prospects, they even look better or worse. And the guy to me who looks way better, the more I look at him, is Tyler Booker for Alabama. I mean, I know the Niners don't need a guard per se, But you know what? You have your movement guard on the right side. You need your bulldozing guard on the left side. There is no better bulldozing guard that I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years than this guy. I talked to Baldy about him yesterday. Baldy's coming on the show next week. Baldy loves him, thinks he's absolutely the answer to plug in for Aaron Banks at left guard. And to me, that you need a big-time player there. I don't believe in the durability of Ben Barch. I love Ben Barch as a guy, but I don't believe in his durability. And so I would trade back and go with one of those two guys.
It's interesting because when we got back from the combine, if you remember, the guy that I asked you first about was Booker. And the reason being, and that's why going to the combine this year was just so beneficial for me. And television shows you a lot, but they go to commercial, they don't show it. Tyler Booker's disposition when he went through every single drill was just a badass. He's a mofo. He's just taking everything so seriously. I saw him go over and snap the ball after, try to learn to play center for like an hour after it was all done. This guy's a dog. He will fit in. He is a guard. Wait, you're talking about trading back from 11 and taking a guard and a safety in that early in the first round? I mean, is that value? I can see getting these guys. You don't want to necessarily. Those would be ideally you trade back and have 2 first-round picks. You take a guard and a safety.
Well, no, I'm not saying take 2 first-round picks. I'm just saying trade back and
get
start your draft
extra
with
picks.
With either one of those guys.
Where would Booker?
I'm looking for.
Where would you take Booker? Where is it too high to take him?
I think he's too high to take him at 11. But I mean, I think if you could get to 15 and you get a pick between 15 and 20, that's where I would take him. I think the Niners took Mike Iupati, maybe 17. I think that's pretty much where I would take this guy.
Yeah.
He's a New Haven, Connecticut kid. He went to IMG Academy. He was a 2-year starter at Bama. If you read Dane Brugler, who's coming on my 2-hour draft show on Saturday to talk about the Niners draft, check that out from 12 to 2 on the 19th.
He's a beast. I love the beast. I can't get enough of the beast, Krug.
Yeah, I mean, the beast is out, and it's amazing. And a team captain described Booker as a natural-born leader who gets the most out of his NFL teammates. An NFL scout said he keeps everyone accountable in that locker room. After Alabama's Vandy loss, Book was the guy who got everyone back on track. This guy's a monster. He's an absolute monster. His film is incredible, and when you read about him as a guy, and you see the measurables, I get it. I know there's lots of people driving around listening to KNBR right now going, dude, you're supposed to be knowledgeable. You're talking about trading back for a guard. If Quentin Nelson were in this draft, where would he go? Would you feel okay if the Niners took Quentin Nelson at 11?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And this guy, I think, is Quentin Nelson. I think this is the standard bearer for the guard play in the NFL for the next decade. So, it's one of those picks where on draft day, you may take a few, there may be a Kawakami criticism column coming your way. But if you can, endure that, you're going to be really, really happy when it gets to game day. And I'll say this, if the Niners really have dreams of winning the Super Bowl, and we know they do, you can't be in a league that has Kansas City, Philadelphia, Detroit, all these contenders, Baltimore, and they all have bigger physical offensive lines that can run the ball inside the 5, and you can't. I think that you can't win a Super Bowl that way. You have to be able to run the ball inside the 5. The Niners weren't able to this last year. Shanahan, to a point, coached around the deficiency by running the ball on 2nd and goal and 3rd and goal from the 4. Those days have got to end. This player, Booker, is a culture-changing monster at left guard, and that's where I'd start.
Talking to Larry Krueger here, getting the full education ahead of the draft, and we need it, and we're grateful for it here on KNBR. And you are listening to KNBR and KNBR FM San Francisco, the sports leader, a Cumulus media station. Now, the pick consensus among the fan base, among a lot of comments made, among a lot of the writers, is that taking a lineman at pick number 11 is more than likely going to be the case, whether it's offensive lineman, whether it's defensive lineman. So we were getting into a few names before we had you on, Krug, about who would be too early to take at 11, because I'm with you. If your player or maybe top 2 guys just aren't there when you get to 11, and then it's a handful of different players that you think you might be able to get trading back is absolutely a way to get more out of this draft. So a couple of names just to throw out there. James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, someone that really stood out to us at the Combine. Mike Green, the edge from Marshall. Are guys like that too early to take at 11 if they're there? And in that scenario, would you look at trading back?
Well, I mean, I love both those players individually, but I'm not sure if they're perfect for the scheme. Now, I think Pierce might be perfect for the scheme because he's a wide 9 rusher.
Right.
Some of his ability to kind of shake guys with moves. And when you have that extra space on the outside, you have a little bit more room to operate. So I think Pierce potentially could be really electric. But from what I've heard, he's got to be investigated off the field as far as what kind of guy is he, how hot is his motor, what kind of person is he. Green's got some off-field issues as well that have to be investigated. Only thing with Green is I just see a guy who I don't think can be I'm not taking a guy in the first round who can't play first and second down. And I don't think he can play first and second down in the wide 9. I think he just get absolutely destroyed in the run game. I love Green, and he's got an array of spin moves. He's probably got the most moves of anybody as far as polish, including Abdul Carter. I mean, this guy's got he's got an array of moves. But at 6'3", 251, going up against 330-pound offensive tackles, I think he's just going to get engulfed and kicked out of the club and rendered useless on first and second down. So I need somebody who's more like closer to 270 if I'm going to go for a defensive end that early.
And you mentioned the off-field issues. Mike Green in 2022 left the Virginia program and wound up moving on there and going to Marshall. And as far as James Pierce Jr. in 2023 in December, he was arrested, disobeying orders with the police, and he had a suspended license. So Pierce is intriguing. He's the one who reminds me the most of Leonard Floyd, but he's a little spindly as well. So both of those guys are undersized. Can they stand up in the run game and set the edge, or would they be situational pass rushers when they go to the turbo? How about the interior guys? Obviously, Mason Graham's going to go high. I do wonder if he's that good of a player.
I do too.
I have my reservations. I think the young guy in with the Rams that they took in the second round is just as good of a player. Fisk is just as good of a player. But it sounds like the league loves the guy, and Graham will be gone. If you do go Ward Daddy at number 11 or trade back, Derek Harmon is interesting out of Oregon, Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, and Kenneth Grant. To me, when I'm watching Mason Graham, I'm watching the big boy Grant actually flash more at 330 pounds. Which one of the, if you decided to go inside at D tackle and Ward Daddy, what are some of the names you're looking at there, Larry?
Yeah, it's this is a tough spot because first of all, don't get caught up on the value. Just because Kenneth Grant is mocked in the 20s and 30s and Walter Nolan in the teens and 20s, it doesn't necessarily mean you couldn't take those guys at 11 if you really had the conviction. The one thing about Grant is if you scout him in highlights, you just think he's the greatest thing ever because he's 6'3", 330, he's huge, and he moves exceptionally well. He moves like a man who's 275 or 280, and he's 330. So that's super intriguing. And I kind of think I like the idea of going big on the D-line and smaller at linebacker. And you need those bigger bodies up front to protect. So I'd probably lean towards Kenneth Grant a little bit there. Mason Graham scares me. He's got a bad body. He doesn't rush the passer. He gets absolutely dominated against double teams. He doesn't have that. He's like a guy who doesn't take any plays off. He's like an instructional video. He's a wrestler who plays with leverage, and he's really, really good at the collegiate level. But I don't know how much better he's going to get. He's a technician with a bad body who's going to get combo blocked right out of there. So I like Grant and Nolan. I would go with Grant or Nolan probably right now. If it came right down to it, you need 2 defensive tackles. You may need 3. I like Grant a lot. I like Nolan a lot. So I'd probably be choosing between those 2 guys. But then that second tier of guys that is really maybe a day 2 group, that's Jordan Phillips from Maryland, also has the wrestling background, really, really strong. CJ West from Indiana, who dominated in Frisco, Texas at the Shrine game and just the one-on-one practices that week. He really put himself on the map. A lot of DJ Jones talent there, 6'2", 320, enormously strong hands. Those are the guys that stand out. But there's also the 49ers really need to get some pass rush. And I would say there's a couple guys that you should take a look at. One's Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech, who's about 6 feet, but he's 290, and he's just a tremendous pass rusher who really could be put on any spot on the line, and he would do the job. And the other is the LSU kid who dominated the Senior Bowl, Savion Jones. He's 6'5", 6'6". He's 290, but he plays the edge, but he could definitely play inside. And when they lined him up inside in the Senior Bowl, he had a couple sacks, and he just toyed with the guards. So his speed is much too much for the interior players. So those two guys, and Elijah Roberts as well. I love one. If the Niners could get either Peebles or Roberts or Jones on day 2 or maybe the beginning of day 3, that would be a nice thing for sure.
Hey, you're leaving us with a lot to chew on here. And before we let you go, Larry, I just want to go back to your sleeper QB comment, because Brock Purdy, they're obviously trying to get the extension done. We'll see what happens in this offseason. We're going to have more than enough time to get into that whole storyline. But I saw a headline earlier today that Tyler Schuff is someone who's starting to get a lot of late traction, and his stock is starting to rise. I know Brady Cook out of Missouri is a guy that we've talked about before, having you on. What does sleeper quarterback look like to you? And, what rounds could you get some of these guys that you do like in?
Well, okay, so a buddy of mine is good friends with John Gruden, right? And I saw the Gruden Riley Leonard quarterback camp a couple nights ago, and I said to my buddy who knows Gruden, I'm like, can you find out what John actually thinks of this kid? And John loves Riley Leonard, and I love Riley Leonard. And to me, Riley Leonard is the sleeper quarterback in this draft. The Notre Dame kid, the scouts are figuring it out. He's climbing the charts. I would say right now you could probably get him in the 4th round or 5th round, but by draft day, he's probably going in the high 4th round or mid 4th round. I just love Riley Leonard. I mean, I see so much of Joe, so much of Steve. I mean, I realize those are the greatest quarterbacks in Niner history, and that's putting a lot on this kid. But this kid has got it, man. This kid has got it. Smart as hell, loves football, super winner, competitor. The guy's a processor. He's a quick learner. I mean, Gruden in the quarterback school gave him about 9 different variables, and the kid crunched it verbally at the line of scrimmage and spit it out. And Gruden's like, this guy can process football. He's passionate about football. He's upbeat. He's positive. He's a quick study. He was the MVP of the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl. He played great in the Natty. He can run. He's an academic All-American. Riley Leonard. And in fact, I'm working on a YouTube video that's entitled Riley Leonard No Matter What, as a takeoff from Sonny Weaver's Vontae Mack No Matter What from draft day. I know the Niners don't need a quarterback, but Riley Leonard, mark it down. That kid can play.
And
But
Bill
don't
Walsh
draft
said,
Bo Callahan.
Bill Walsh said, draft a quarterback every single year. Even if you have a quarterback on your roster, you're not going to evaluate Patrick Mahomes. You can't make those mistakes anymore. I like Riley Leonard. I liked him when I saw him play, but at the Combine, he just had a swag about him with the hat backwards, the way he dropped, the way he crossed his feet on his drops. He just that's why Gruden loves him. He just has that mentality like, I'm the guy. The guy that I love, though, because we watched him play all year, and I actually met him after the Cal game, is Kyle McCord. From Syracuse.
I saw you hugged him. Hugged him after the Cal game. I just love him. And then to me, he's a little bit bigger. He's 6'3". He's not huge, but he's taller version of Brock Purdy. What do you think of Kyle McCord? I love him. I mean, the funny thing about it is sometimes you need to see a guy in a different venue. I didn't love him at Ohio State. I really didn't. I didn't think he looked that good. Maybe it was just my kind of preconceived feelings about Ohio State quarterbacks' failures through the year, but I just didn't see him as a big-time prospect. But what he did this year, and Greg, not only McCord, the kid that he threw to, Rondé Gadsden, would be a phenomenal 49er, would he not?
Yes, he would.
If they could, I love McCord. I mean, to me, if you said, what's your quarterback thoughts on this draft? Love Cam Ward, totally convinced he's a star. As far as Shador, no. Jackson Dart, no. Jalen Milroe,
Why no on Jackson Dart? Why don't you like him?
there's something, I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of things I don't like. One, I thought his receivers made him look good. Two, he's a little Hollywood for me with the one stripe down the cheek, and just to hear him talk about himself. Then he got a little in the interviews. I mean, this guy's a Star Wars dork. I don't know if this guy's going to fit in like as the leader of the room. He's like the biggest Star Wars guy I've ever seen, which is great. Fine, that's no problem.
Valid criticism to me.
I don't know if I want, some guy with a Princess Leia action figure in his locker room.
Marrying him. You don't want him at your Thanksgiving table. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him as a quarterback? When I watch him, I'm like, what's wrong with this guy?
I don't want a guy with R2D2 toys in his locker.
C3PO. Do you like C3PO? I don't know what that means. As a player, he makes every throw, though. He's got a big arm. He runs a big arm. Over. That guy's legs are thick. He runs right over would-be tacklers.
He's a little streaky. Some of the people that I know who went in there, both at SC and Ole Miss, thought he was kind of full of himself. I don't hate him. I don't have a conviction on him.
All right.
To me, the quarterbacks in this draft, you mentioned Tyler Shugg. By the way, it's a silent H. It's a Shugg. He's a Shugg.
Oh, he's been in college. Awesome.
Yeah. He's been in college too long. So I would say no to Shugg, no to Quinn Ewers, no to Will Howard. But that next group that Greg's referencing, Kyle McCord, Riley Leonard, Cam Miller from North Dakota State, Seth Hennigan from Memphis, another super smart kid. He was so impressive in the Gruden show. And Brady Cook, and maybe even the El Gersma kid from Canada. There's some good day 3 quarterback prospects there, and Riley Leonard's my favorite of them, but I definitely could see the value of a couple of these guys.
Krug, always appreciate you coming by with us. You're the best. We're definitely going to have you on next week as well. And I'm going to check out your draft show on Saturday with Dane Brugler. Couple hours and a good chance for me to get a lot of education. So always great to have you. I'm glad, we've been missing a little bit of football here in the rotation with this time of year, but next week's going to be a big one, especially for the 49ers.
Tyler Booker.
Love that guy.
Oh, my goodness.
Mike Upati went 17, by the way, that year.
Yes. Trade to 17 and take Tyler Booker.
Anthony Davis won 11, and then they chucked and he was a plug-and-play left guard, Upati, immediately.
Yes. And they need that right now.
Without a doubt.
Thanks, fellas.
Take care, Larry.